live stream, and then I will get the live stream link. As usual, if you want to look back on any of these sessions, in case you miss anything, then you can go ahead and do that from the YouTube channel over here. So let's just get the YouTube channel and the link. There you go. Okay, and that's going to be over here. So like I said, go ahead and log into TryHackMe because we're going to be using TryHackMe in just a little bit. All right, so let's start. So what are we doing today? This is Hacker Frogs After School, and we're doing network hacking session number 2. So this is a new course that we're going to be starting here. It's a new subject, and we're talking about networks, and we're talking about how to interact with networks, and eventually we're going to get to how to hack various services and various services that you can find on the network. So this is session number 2, and let's start. Jake Mr. Hack on YouTube says, hello, everybody. Hey, Jake Mr. Hack, nice to see you here. And you're just here in time for us to do our session on network hacking. So let's go over the concepts we covered in the previous session. MC25 says 7 minutes late. Am I 7 minutes late? I mean, I have to make sure that everybody's okay on the Zoom call. So, what did we talk about last time? We talked a little bit about ping sweeping. So, ping sweeping is basically figuring out which devices are live on a particular network, and this is something that we often do when we don't know exactly which IP addresses are available on a network. Oh, right. We used to do the countdown, yeah. I guess it's because we're doing the classes right now, so I just kind of jump in as soon as the class is ready. So the last time we talked about the ping command, and the ping command is a very common way we determine connectivity between two network devices. So if you ping out to a specific IP address, you'll be able to figure out if you can actually communicate with that device or not. And that's going to be whether or not you're going to be able to receive those ping packets back from the device you're communicating with. So that was the ping command, and we also looked up a couple of commands that we could use to find out if our device is online. So we could use the IPA command over here to figure out our networking information. And well, I'll just demonstrate over here. So if I type in IPA, IP space A, this is going to give us our networking devices over here. So we got the low device, the ETH0 device, the ETH1 device, and we also can see what our IP address is on each one of these devices. And this is important when we need to communicate with other devices. Sometimes we want them to communicate back to us, and sometimes we need to provide our IP address when we do that. Okay, so let's see. And I think, okay, so the last thing that we learned in the last session was we learned how to enumerate open ports with Nmap. Nmap is a very common network security tool that can be used to determine which networking ports and services are open on remote servers. Jake Mr. Hack says, what about Wireshark? We covered Wireshark in our forensics course, and the forensics course was maybe a couple of months ago. If you look back in the live stream archives, you should be able to find there were maybe 2 lessons that we did on Wireshark before. But yeah, Nmap, it's a very common tool that we can use to determine which networking ports are open on a remote server. So this session's topics, we're going to be talking about 3 common networking services and how to interact in a normal way using these services. So before we learn how to hack these services, we need to learn how to use them in a normal way. And we'll be talking about 3 different services today. We're going to be talking about the FTP service and the SMB service. And these are both file sharing services. So if you use the service, you can take a look at what files are online, and you can potentially download and upload files using these services. And the last service we're going to be taking a look at is the Telnet service. So the Telnet service is kind of an old service that was used to do remote login. Telnet isn't used anymore. There are a few different reasons for this, but we're going to be talking about these three services, and we're going to be working through a Try Hack Me module to learn about these things. So this is the room over here. We've been using this room for quite a while now, and let me see if I can grab the link for this. So this is the link over here, and I'll just provide it to everybody in the chat. If you could log into Try Hack Me and then go over to that link, that would be great. So after you've logged into Try Hack Me and then you go over to this link, you're going to see this is a Christmas themed module over here. So Try Hack Me does a Christmas event every year, and there's usually a lot of great stuff that comes out of these Christmas events. And in this particular room, we're going to be taking a look at task number 12 to do our first to learn about our first network service. So after you've logged in and after you've joined the room, there should, if you haven't used the room before, I guess I'll demonstrate what this looks like. Let me go ahead and reset myself. Whoops, no, not reset, but leave the room. Okay, and then I'll go back and then I'll demonstrate what it looks like when you come to this room fresh. So if you haven't used the room before, you're going to see this join room button over here. Until you click on this button, you're not going to be able to use the stuff in the room. So go ahead and click on that button. And I see some newcomers in the Zoom call, so I will paste in the link for the Try Hack Me room that we're using. So just log into Try Hack Me and then go over to this link. Okay, so after you've clicked on the green Join Room button, you want to go over to task number 12. And task number 12 is called Don't Be Selfish. Okay, so just go ahead and click on task number 12. GX00 says there's Zoom now too. Yeah, there's a Zoom now. I'm doing a Zoom call with some students, and we're learning over there as well. GX00, nice to see you here. And what do we need to do after we click on the task 12 header over here? So after you click on it, you're going to see this little Christmas tree, and you're going to see this green Start Machine button over on the left-hand side of the screen. Sorry, the right-hand side. Go ahead and click on that button. And then after you've clicked on the button, it'll turn gray, and you want to go up to the top of the web page. At the top of the web page, underneath the little cloud with the Santa hat, you're going to see this box over here labeled Start Attack Box. I want you to click on that because this is going to be the machine that you use to interact with the target machine. So there's going to be two machines you're starting up here. There's going to be the target machine, and it's going to be, the information for this is going to be in the red header over here. And then there's going to be the attack box that we're using. And the attack box is basically a Linux machine with a bunch of security tools on it. So if you manage to start the machine in task number 12, and you've got this red banner over here, and you've managed to click on the Start Attack Box button underneath the cloud and Santa Claus hat icon, and you see the loading bar over here, let us know in the chat by typing in the stuff is loading, smiley face. So I just want to know that everybody's doing the same thing and at the same point in the lesson. So it's going to take another minute or so for everything to load up. Okay, so I see somebody with their hand up. And user AD, if you want to ask a question, just type it into the chat. The stuff is loading. Okay, I see somebody says that the stuff is loading. That's great. So if you've got a question, just type it in the chat, and I will I'll answer your question. Okay, so we're going to be covering three different networking services today, and the first one is going to be FTP. Let's talk a little bit about that before we move on. So as usual, if you're stuck somewhere and you need us to help you catch up, please let us know in the chat, and we'll try to help you out as best we can. Okay, so the first service we're going to be looking at today is going to be the FTP service. So the FTP service stands for File Transfer Protocol, and it's usually going to be on TCP port number 21 or TCP port number 20. So when we talk about the ports, we basically mean which port on the computer that they have the service, and we'll be taking a look at that in just a little bit. So the main purpose of FTP is for file storage and transfer. It's a common networking service which allows users to upload and download files. So we can access the FTP service through the FTP client program, which can sometimes accept anonymous login. So let's go ahead and see what we can do with the FTP program over at TryHackMe. Okay, so over here, I think we can keep everything about the same size as this. So we're just going to click into the terminal, and then we're going to hit enter to dismiss this message over here. And then we're going to open up our own terminal. So to open up a terminal, there are three different shortcut buttons you can use. So there's this one over here, there's this one over here at the top of the screen, and there's this one over here on the right-hand side of the screen. So just click on one of those, and then the terminal is going to appear. So it's going to say root at some IP address like this. And what we want to do is we want to put in the target IP address in here. So we can actually, it's probably easier if we just take a look at the IP address here and then type it in ourselves. So take a look at this IP address. Your IP address is not going to be the same as mine. And then in your terminal, you're going to type in the IP address. So in this case, it's going to be 10.10.207. Whoops. Okay, 207.57. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a quick nmap scan for this IP address. So in front of the IP address here, you're going to type in the word nmap and then give a space. So just type in nmap and then space, and then the target IP address over here on the left-hand side of the screen. After you do that, you should see that it's reporting, it doesn't tell us about the FTP service. That's weird. Okay, so I want you to do the same command, but give this part as well. So -p21, and then the IP address. It says that the FTP service is closed. That's really weird. Am I looking at the right thing? Oh, you know what? I'm sorry, everybody. We shouldn't be taking a look at the task number 12. We should be taking a look at task number 11. I'm really sorry about that. Okay. So everybody, so go up to the top of the screen, and you want to terminate this this target machine. So under the target machine information, click on terminate, and then click on terminate machine again. And then what I want you to do is I want you to go down to task number 11 instead of task number 12. So this is task number 12, close this one, and then go over to task number 11, and then click on start machine. So sorry, under task number 11, click on start machine. It's going to take about a minute to load up. Thank you very much for following on Twitch. Nixie CS, thank you very much. Okay, so sorry everybody. So if you've got the if you terminated the machine on task number 12 and you've got the machine starting up on task number 11, and you'll know that it's starting up when it says target IP address shown in, I don't know, 30 seconds or so, let us know by typing in it's task 11, smiley face. Sorry about that, everybody. So it's a good thing we checked that it was that the for the open port on task number 11, because otherwise we would have had a very, very bad time. Jake Mr. Hack says, I'm not seeing Burp Suite now in TryHackMe. Is it not in TryHackMe? I mean, there's Burp Suite here on the attack box. But there should be some Burp Suite modules on TryHackMe if you search for them. Okay, so we have the new IP address. So we're gonna do the same thing. Wow, Theo is raiding with the party of 23 on Twitch. Thank you very much for the raid, Theo. Riffraff inbound. Yeah, so we're just doing a little lesson on how to learn about some networking services. So this is the link that we're doing. John 2.0 says Theo loves NeoVim. Of course, Theo loves NeoVim. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so let's type in the new IP address and then let's do our Nmap scan. So this is task number 11. Start up the machine. Okay, so I need to change my IP address. The IP address is now 103.207. So whatever IP address is here, you want to use Nmap with that command. So the command is just going to look like this. Let me go ahead and copy that into chat. The only difference is you have to sub in your own IP address for the IP address I have over here. So when we run the scan, we're going to see that there are two ports open according to Nmap. So Nmap says on this IP address, we've got 21, which is FTP, and 22, which is SSH. John 2.0 says, my IP is 127.0.0.1. I think mine is too, coincidentally enough. Okay, so now that we know that FTP is running on this particular IP address, we can actually access the FTP service. So you can do up and down in your terminal to get your history, the history of the different commands you did. So just push up and down arrow keys on your keyboard, and you should be able to do that. So what you want to do is you want to get the nmap command from earlier, but you want to delete nmap and then type in FTP. So after that, GX00 says there's no place like 127.0.0.1. Okay, so everybody go ahead and try logging into FTP. So FTP space and then the IP address. So for the name, we're going to try to log in anonymously. So we're going to type in the name anonymous, just like this. And if you don't know how to spell anonymous, I'll go ahead and copy it over to the chat. That's how you spell anonymous. Btheo says, lurking, got a raid and run. See you later, Btheo, and thank you very much for the raid, and welcome raiders. Okay, so let's so type in anonymous, and then after that you'll be logged in, and you'll see this FTP prompt over here. If you type ls, you should see that we've got these directories over here. So backups, elf workshops, human resources, public. So if you manage to successfully log in to FTP here, let us know in the chat by typing in FTP login, smiley face. And if you're having trouble, let us know where you're stuck, and we'll try to help you get unstuck. Sigma says FTP login. Great. So remember, we had to shut down the task 12 machine, and we had to start up the task 11 machine. So we're doing task number 11, and if the machine is started, you should see the start machine button under task 11 is grayed out. Okay, and so we use FTP to access this the share over here, and there's a bunch of directories in here. So there's going to be backups, there's going to be elf workshops, there's going to be human resources, and there's going to be public. So the commands that we use inside of FTP, they're very similar to using Linux. So you can use the ls command to get the contents of the directory, and you can use the cd command to move to a different directory. So if we want to enter the public directory, what command would we use to enter that directory if we're using Linux? And I guess if you were using FTP too. So just a little quiz. We would use a specific command to change the directory. So the hint is change directory. Okay, so Sigma says it's CD. It is CD. Yeah. So to enter the public directory, we just need to type in CD space public, and then we change our directory. I think I can make the web page over here a little smaller, and I can make my terminal a little bigger so that it's easier to see. Okay, that's a little bigger. Whoops. GX00 says, I prefer DVDs. Of course you prefer DVDs. Okay, so we're now in the public directory. We type in CD space public, we hit enter, and now we're in the public directory. I think we can get the current directory with the pwd command. And it says public is the current directory. So after that, we can type ls again, and that's going to give us the contents of the directory here. So we've got two files. So the two files are backup.sh and shopping list. So inside of FTP, there are a few different common commands that we can use. And JakeMrHack says get. Yeah, so let me talk a little bit about FTP and the different commands you can use. So we've got a list of common FTP commands over here. So we've got the ls command, which does to list out the directory contents. We can use the cd command, and then that's going to change the directory to the directory name that we specify. We can get a file name, which is going to download the file, and we can put a file name, which is going to upload the file. And we can quit or exit, which is going to let us exit the program. Let's see, JakeMrHack says, how do we use put? Yeah, we'll talk about that in just a little bit. GroudXT says, hello GroudXT, nice to see you here. We're just talking about how to use basic FTP commands. So let's go back to TryAcme here. So we can download some files now. So we've got the two files here. We've got backup.sh, we've got shoppinglist.txt. So to download the file, all we need to do is just type the word get and then space and then the file name. So for example, we can get backup.sh, and that's going to download the backup.sh file. So while we're here, we're also going to download the shoppinglist.txt file. So it's going to be get space shoppinglist.txt, and that's also going to download that file. Okay, so after we're done, we can quit out of the program, and we can type quit or exit and then enter, and that's going to exit us from the FTP server. And you're going to see the prompt color change over here, and that's how you know that you're logged out. Okay, so now we see that we've downloaded these two files, shoppinglist.txt and backup.sh. So we can read these files to see what's inside the files. So we're just going to use the cat command, cat space backup.sh. So we're going to see that this is a file, and in the comments over here it says, created by Elf McEager to back up all of Santa's goodies. And it says over here it's going to create backups to include the date. It's going to back up the FTP server and store it in Elf McEager's home directory over here. And they're going to, yeah, so this is basically the a script that's going to back up the files on the computer here. So the other thing that we're going to do is we're going to take a look at the shoppinglist.txt file. So we're going to see what's on the shopping list. So just cat space shoppinglist.txt. And it says here that this is the Polar Express movie. GreatXT says, I've been bamboozled in FTP CTF challenges with the ls command. Usually I do ls/lahr to show hidden files, but didn't because I thought FTP was different. Yeah, the command switches work in FTP as well, so you have to be careful to look for hidden files when you're doing CTF challenges. Okay, so we got the Polar Express movie. So I think we can answer some of the questions in this task to finish off this exercise here. So let's go ahead and answer the questions under task number 11. So yeah, task 11, we can skip down past all the stuff. If you're interested in learning more about FTP, you can always read all of the material over here. It's all very good. But we've got kind of a time constraint today, so we're just going to skip down to the questions. Okay, so it says, name the directory on the FTP server that has data accessible by the anonymous user. Okay, so we entered a directory when we used the FTP service. And does anybody remember the name of that directory? We did cd space some directory name. So if your answer is public, that was the name of the directory we entered. So go ahead and type in public, click on submit, and that's the correct answer. And question number 2, what script gets executed within this directory? So there was a script that we downloaded, and this is the name of the script over here. It's called backup.sh. So we can provide that answer for the second question. Backup.sh, submit that. And we're going to do this last question here. Question number 3, what movie did Santa have on his Christmas shopping list? So if you know what the name of the movie is, let us know in the chat. It's a Christmas movie. That's the hint. And the answer is The Polar Express. So that's the name of the movie on the shopping list. When we read the shopping list.txt file, we found that. Okay, Sigma, you're correct. It was the Polar Express. Let's go ahead and submit that. Okay, great. All right, so we've got a couple more services that we're going to be talking about today. So we're just going to skip past to task number 12. So everybody, what I want you to do is I want you to go up to the top of the web page. And in the top of the web page, you're going to click on the terminate button over here because we're no longer going to be using this target machine. So click on terminate and then click on the red terminate machine button again. So after you've done that, I want you to go over to task number 12. So task number 11, you can just click on this again to close it. And then we're going to click on the task number 12 header. So it says, don't be selfish. So now we're doing task number 12. So go ahead and click on the green Start Machine button under task number 12. And it should be starting up in about a minute. What we want to do is we want to go up to the top of the web page, and it should say something like shown in 1 minute or 50 seconds or something like that. And we're just waiting for the task number 12 machine to start up. So everybody, if you're waiting for this to start up, let us know in the chat by typing in task 12 start, smiley face, like this. So we were just using the FTP service to download files from a server. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to use the SMB service. It's a slightly different service, but it's also a file. It's also a service that's used for uploading and downloading files. So let's talk about this for just a second before we get underway. So that was FTP. The next thing we're talking about is the SMB service. So Whenever we talk about these computer services, we're always talking about these acronyms: SMB, FTP, and SSH, all sorts of other fun stuff. Eventually, you'll learn to understand what these acronyms stand for. So the SMB service, this stands for Server Message Block. So this is the name of the service. It's commonly found on port TCP 445 and 139. And the main purpose for this service is to do file sharing and printer sharing. So the SMB service is a file and printer sharing service that is most commonly associated with the Windows OS. So one thing about SMB is that it's heavily associated with Windows, but Linux machines can also run SMB. So accessing SMB. On Linux, we can access SMB shares through the SMB client program. And before we do this, what we're going to do is we're just going to make sure that we can access this IP address. So there's 10. So for me, it's 10.10.71.7. Whatever IP address is here now, I want you to I want you to type in nmap space and then the IP address over here. So 10.10.71.7. It's probably going to be a different IP address for you. Okay, Xmetrics. Nice to see you here. Theo Raid. Theo raided a little while ago. Okay, so what did we find on using the Nmap program? So the Nmap program told us which ports are open. And in this case, we've got port 22, we've got 139, and we've got 445. So these two ports here are associated with the SMB service. Okay. Nice to see you here, Xmetrics. Thank you. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is we need to figure out which file shares are available on the SMB service. And when we connect to SMB, we have to specify the file share that we want to connect to. And this is a name. We have to use another program to do that. And the other program that we're going to use is called enum for Linux. And this is going to get us some information about the SMB service on a remote server. So let's go ahead and go back to TryAcme. So in TryAcme here, we're going to use the up arrow key to get the previous command, but we're going to replace the nmap with another command. So nmap, we're going to replace this with enum for Linux, which is spelled like this. And we're also going to give another switch over here to indicate that we want to get the file share names. So this is what the command is going to look like. Let me copy this. I'll paste in the chat. So this is the command you do, except for the fact that you need to replace the IP address here with the IP address that is located over here in the target IP address. So it's got to match. Okay, so when we run this command, there's going to be a bunch of output here, but most importantly, we get the name of a file share that we can access. So over here, this is 10.10.71.7. It's going to be different for you, but the end of the file share is called tbfc-santa. So what I want you to do is I want you to copy that. So copy that, and then, well, we're going to clear the screen. We're going to paste in. So right-click, paste. And then what we're going to do is we're going to use a special program to access the file share. And that program is called SMB client. So the command looks like this. And I'm pretty sure the command looks like this. Let me check. Okay. Yeah, that is what the command looks like. So I'll just paste this command into the chat. But just keep in mind that you have to replace the IP address with your own IP address. Yeah, it looks like that. Okay, so, all right, so give the command, and when it says password for workgroup, just hit enter, and it'll log you in to the SMB service. Forward slashes, not backslashes. Well, we do exactly what we see from the enum for Linux command. Okay, so once we're in SMB, we can type in the dir command to get the directory list. So dir stands for directory list, and we should see two files over here. If you manage to successfully log in to SMB with the SMB client program, and you see these two directories and files here, let us know in the chat by typing in SMB in smiley face. And as usual, if you're having trouble accessing the program, let us know and we'll try to help you out. Just let us know where you're stuck and we'll try to get you to where we are right now. But in the meantime, let's talk about these SMB commands that we can do. So the SMB commands, when we're using this program, they're very similar to the FTP commands. We can use the dir command to get the directory contents. We can use the cd command to change directories. We can use the get command to download files, and we can use the put command to upload files. And we can exit or quit to exit the program. Thank you very much, Xmetric, for lurking. Thank you. Okay, so let's go back. Oh, not here, but here. All right. Okay, everybody, we've got an ad running on Twitch, so we need to run one on YouTube as well. And we're just going to take a little 1 minute break to have a little bit of water. So if you want to have a little bit of water or have a stretch, now's the time to do so because we're waiting for the ads to run out on Twitch and YouTube. But in the meantime, why don't you watch these birds? I love my bird videos, and this is one of my favorites. Hold on. Okay. We'll be back in about 45 seconds. Enjoy the birds, and yeah, have a little break. Okay, so Jake Mr. Hack says every SMB has a default user for the administrator. SMB, the users for SMB are basically whatever users are on the underlying system. So if the underlying system is Linux, then it's going to have Linux usernames, and if it's Windows, then it's going to have Windows usernames. Okay, let's put the birds away and let's continue. All right, so what's going on here? So we see here after we log into the SMB service, there's going to be a file here called note from Mixgiddy. So what we want to do is we want to download this. So using SMB, we can just type in get and then space and then the name of the file. If you don't feel like typing out this file name, you can just copy it and paste instead. So just right click on it, select copy, and then right click, select paste, and then that'll get you there. So after that, you can hit enter, and that's going to download the file. So after you've downloaded the file, we can get out of the SMB program by typing in the word exit and then hit enter. Okay. So from here, we see that there's a note from mcskitty.txt in our directory now. So we can actually read the file by typing in cat and then space and then note from mcskitty. Remember, you can always use the tab button on your keyboard to autocomplete the name of a really long file, and that's going to save you a lot of time typing. So use the cat command here, and it says, "Hi Santa, I decided to put all of your favorite jingles onto this share, all owing you, all what? Allowing you to access it from anywhere you like. Regards, Elf McSkitty." Okay, so after that, we can answer the questions for this particular task. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So we're just going to go down to task number 12, and this section over here talks about the SMB service. So if you want to read all about the SMB service, you can go ahead and read this stuff over here. It talks about a bunch of different commands we can do with SMB as well, but we're just going to answer the questions here. Okay, so question 1, using enum for Linux, how many users are there on the Samba server? Okay. So we can run enum for Linux on the server. I think we did that over here. So enum for Linux. I think you can, instead of s, you can use u just to get the usernames. So let's try that. Okay, so I think we got three accounts over here. So there's Elf McSkitty, Elf McEager, and Elf McElferson. So those are the 3 users. Okay, so we just type in 3. And the next question is, how many shares are there on the Samba server? So on the Samba server here, I think we can use the enum for Linux command again. So instead of u, we do -s. And there are 1, 2, 3, 4 shares on here. So we're just going to supply 4 as the answer, submit. Oh, is that not right? No, it is right. Okay, great. Okay. Number 3, use SMB client to try to log into the shares on the Samba server. What share doesn't require a password? So this is the share that we accessed that didn't require the password. So tbfc-santa. So just type in tbfc-santa, click on submit. And we've got one last question here, question number 4. So we log into the share. What directory did Elf McSkitty leave for Santa? So there was a directory, and I think, hold on. Let's go ahead and log in there and take a look at the name of the share one more time. So SMB client, we can use this command. And then when we do dir, we can see that there's one directory here. And we know it's a directory because it's got the letter D here. And the directory name is jingle-tunes. So that's the answer. So just type in jingle-tunes and then click on submit. Okay, that was the correct answer. Great. Okay. So everybody, if you managed to answer all of the questions here and complete task number 12, let us know in the chat by typing in task 12 done. Smiley face. Okay, task 12 done. Great. Nice to see, nice to see. Okay, let's do one last task before we finish up with today's lesson, okay? So we're going to go up to the top of the web page, and at the very top, we're going to terminate the machine. So once again, click on the red terminate button and click on it again. And what we're going to do is we're going to go over to task number 15. So the last one is task 15. So click on task number 15 here. So it's called Coal for Christmas. It's task 15. Click on that and then click on the Start Machine button. So this is going to start up the machine for this task here. Okay. So remember, if you've got a lot of stuff on your screen, you can always type in the word clear and then hit enter, and it's going to get rid of the stuff on the screen, and it's going to send you back up to the top. So we also need to go up to the top again. So over here, we need to pay attention to the IP address for the target machine, because the IP address is going to be different again because we started up a new machine. Before we do this, let's talk about the next service we're going to be using. So this is the Telnet service. So the Telnet service is task number 15. So Telnet stands for Telecommunications Network, and the main purpose for the Telnet service is to do remote login. So when we say remote login, it means logging into a computer that is not your own computer. So Telnet is a service that allows a remote terminal login and is the predecessor of the SSH service. So modern systems use the SSH service to do remote login, but a long time ago they used to use the Telnet service a lot. And the Telnet service is usually located on port number 23 on a network, on a remote server network. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about this. So we can access the Telnet service through the Telnet client program. So just type in Telnet and then the IP address. So let's go back to TryAcme here. We've got our IP address here. Hack the Planet says, I'm so old, I lived a long time ago. Are you trying to tell us that you used Telnet before? I never used Telnet because I wasn't using computers back then. But a lot of people, they remember using Telnet. Okay, so what can we do? So the first thing we can do is we can use Nmap to scan the machine to make sure that the Telnet port is open. So just type in Nmap and then space, and then the new IP address over here. So for me, it's going to be 10.10.142.59. Okay, and it tells us that Telnet is open. The Telnet port is open on the server, and that means that we can use the Telnet program to access it. In the 90s, all the time we used Telnet, and we used it to connect to MUDs and MOOs and mushes and MIRC. Those are some really old technologies, yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll bring up the previous command, the Nmap one, but we're going to replace the word Nmap with Telnet so they can access Telnet. So delete Nmap, type in Telnet, and this is going to be the command. So it's just, need to spell that correctly. So it's just going to look like this. The only difference is that you need to make sure to replace my IP address with the IP address for your machine. Okay, so let's give the command, and we get this little banner over here. So when we try logging in, it says, "Hi Santa. We knew you were coming and we wanted to make it easy for you to drop off presents, so we created an account for you to use." So the username is going to be Santa and the password is going to be Claus Christmas. It says, "We left you cookies and milk. We got our Christmas login." Okay, that's great. So we can use the credentials here to log in. So just type in Santa, hit enter. And for the password, we can actually copy this. So just mouse over it, highlight it, and then select copy. And then we can paste the password in. So when you enter a password in Linux, you're not going to see anything appear, but just paste it in and then hit enter, and you should be logged in. Okay, so everybody, if you manage to log in using Telnet and you see the Christmas tree here, let everybody in chat know by typing in it's Christmas again, smiley face. Mr. Poolshot says, used it and built it too for servers. Are you talking about Telnet or are you talking about some other service? But welcome to the stream, Mr. Poolshot. Okay, so what can we do after we're logged in? Well, let's talk about Telnet for a little bit first. So common Telnet commands. So the thing about Telnet is that Telnet, it's different depending on what Telnet server you log into. Typical Telnet access provides terminal access to the server, and you use the terminal commands associated with the server's OS, that is Linux on Linux machines, Windows on Windows machines, when using the Telnet client. So if you Telnet into a Linux machine, then you have to use Linux commands. If you Telnet into a Windows machine, you have to use Windows commands. And let's go ahead and use some Linux commands. Hold on, over here. Okay. So one thing that is going to make it easier for us is if we type in the word bash, it's going to give us a better terminal. Because the terminal they give us by default is going to be the sh terminal, which is not very good. So type in the word bash, hit enter, and then let's see, we can clear the screen. We can take a look at the files in here. So there's a christmas.sh and there's a cookies and milk file. And what we can do is we can run this file over here. Actually, first we'll read the file. So christmas.sh, let's try reading the file. So just type in cat and then christmas.sh. So hit enter. And you're going to see there's a script over here. So the script is going to do some fun stuff. We'll see in just a little bit. What I want you to do is I want you to run this christmas.sh file. So you can run the christmas.sh file by typing in the following command. So it's going to be /christmas.sh. So it looks just like this. I'll leave it in the chat. Okay, and then when we run this command, we're gonna get this this fun little animation over here. So it's a Christmas tree. It's got a bunch of lights, and I guess they're twinkling. And so this is great. We can actually get out of here by doing the Control C keyboard shortcut. So hold down the Control and the C buttons on your keyboard at the same time, and that's going to exit the program. Okay, and the other thing we can do is we can read the cookies and milk file over here. So we just need to type in cat and then cookies and milk.txt. When we read the file, we see there's a bunch of stuff in here, but there's also a note. So this is Christmas storyline, and it says, "Haha, too bad, Santa. I, the Grinch, got here before you did. I helped myself to some of the goodies here, but you can still enjoy some half-eaten cookies in this leftover milk. Why don't you try and refill it yourself? Yours truly, the Grinch." So we managed to log in using the Telnet program, and then we managed to read these files, and well, that's what we did today. I wanted to introduce a few different networking services today because when you're doing some network hacking, you might come across these services, and they're pretty common. FTP and SMB, not so much Telnet, but you're definitely going to see SMB and FTP on a lot of different challenges today. Sorry, not today, but in the future. Okay, so before we finish today, let's talk a little bit about what we learned. Let's review the network hacking concepts we learned in this workshop. So we learned about the FTP service. That stands for File Transfer Protocol. And the FTP service is a common networking service that allows users to upload and download files. So it's usually found on networking port number 21. And if you do your Nmap scan and there's an FTP service, it's usually going to be on port number 21. So we took a look at the SMB service, and SMB stands for Server Message Block. You're usually going to find it on port number 445 or port number 139 when you do your Nmap scan. The SMB service is a file and printer sharing service that is most commonly associated with the Windows OS. And the last thing we took a look at was the Telnet service. So Telnet is a service that allows remote terminal login, and it is the predecessor to the SSH service. So you're usually not going to see the Telnet service too often because it's really old and it's been replaced by the SSH program for the most part. But when you find it, you'll usually find it on port number 23 when you do your Nmap scan. So what are we going to be doing next time? So in the next Hacker Frogs After School Network Hacking Workshop, we're going to be learning how to perform web app enumeration with a bunch of different tools. So we're going to be taking a look at what happens if we need to scan against a web application when we find it on a remote server. So please look forward to that. And we're going to be moving on to the next part of today's stream. But before we do that, I need to take a few minutes and close out the class with the students over on Zoom. So what are we doing next? So today, on Friday, topic number 2, we're going to be taking a look at cybersecurity certifications. That's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, so please stay tuned for that. We'll be back in just a minute. Just have to take a break and finish up the class with the Zoom students. So enjoy the Be Right Back screen and enjoy the music. See you in a few minutes.